Thank you so much for joining me. Let's talk about this ginormous, interesting, very intellectual, very, very supreme full moon happening on the 1st of August. So she would have passed Pluto. Pluto is, of course, at a trine there with Uranus. She would have had a lot of sentimentality. She would have experienced a lot. There might have been a sexual or emotional build-up before this moon. So the last few days of July would be kind of heated for some people. In certain lives, there's going to be arguments. In certain lives, there's going to be a lot of pleasure, a lot of compassion, a lot of gusto, and a lot of emotionality, sensuality, anything. You name it as got it. This moon would have come into alignment with the sun on the 1st of August in a very, very perfect, pristine, and kind of captured way, captivated or captivating way. So what I mean is she's come into opposition to the sun full of energy and information. So this is not just a moon. This is not just like, oh yeah, full moon. She is brimming with energy. She's brimming with thoughts. So maybe the woman in you or the feminine aspect of yourself might be very, very deep. Maybe you're also very committal or very sensualized. It could be very, very reformative. It could have come to a eureka state, or it could have been captured or captivated by something or somebody. And it's important to watch what that is. So, for example, if before the moon you have been captured, captivated, or you've been very, very curious about something that is not for you. For example, you've been watching TV reruns, you've been eating a lot, you've been doing things with people all over the place, so you haven't really found yourself. This is hard. This is where the photo is taken also in a way. What do I mean by the photo? It's like there is a certain type of memory, or there's a certain very, very sacred vibration that the moon would naturally hold being next to Pluto anyway, as there is such a huge emotional and intense push. As yes, Pluto is at a trine to Uranus. Also, there is a memorable, a very, very poetic, or very, very sensual, seductive, and intense, informative energy that takes place during this time. And it is kind of about being captured on film, being captured in a photograph, being at this place where people probably wanted to see you for ages, or being at a certain type of eternal, glamorous in some cases, or very, very auspicious place, and a place where everybody wanted to see you at. So what I mean is when you are full of insights, when you're full of energy, you are bringing something, or you are showing something, showcasing something that everybody waited to see. So in certain stories, and certain also, I suppose, with certain responsibilities, certain opportunities, some people will have to really wake up to that as to what it means. It's wow, okay, cool, I rocked up at the party, and I'm wearing seriously my pajamas, and I've been sleeping all day, and participating in for example, I don't know, mass media cultures that are of a derogatory type, and I'm just here, I haven't shaved, I still got my beard kind of poking through, I don't really know what I'm doing, I haven't showered today. And that's where you are at socially. So the social psychology, I hope this works as a metaphor. I'm not sure if it made any sense to some people because I'm not a guy, but I'm just trying to make basically a metaphor. The moon is going to be in Aquarius. This is about memorable social people. It's about style, class. It's about adventure. It's about what you're representing to other people. This is about how you are communicating, your sense of style, your sense of clothes, your language, the way you speak, the way you talk, or the way that you show up as very brilliant. And even if you don't think anybody was looking at you, they're going to remember you this way. So if you're wearing pajamas at a party, if you are nobody, if you feel sad, or if you feel scared or not so safe about certain things, there's going to still come through. Luckily, this moon is a very, very lavish and opportunistic moon. We have quite a lot of energy. There's going to be hey, I am kind of passive here, even though I'm usually very active. So maybe some people that are big talkers will shush, and they'll be quite happy seeing or hearing what other people say. So for example, certain people constantly work, or like say you're constantly giving something, constantly doing something. During this particular moon, you'll be like, hey, wait, I'm just going to relax. Look at what I've done. So there is like a coolness, a suaveness, and a smoothness. There is a beauty to this time, and in some cases it's great to get a makeover. It's great to be seen as the best person in the party for at least something. So what are you the best at? There is a certain sense of competition to Leo always, but this moon kind of freezes things in time, which is curious. So that means, for example, I'm the best at being kind of bored of everything, or like I'm like the best at like knowing nothing but still talking, or like I am like the best at like kind of being good with evil people. I like having crazy people around me. I love sickness. I love this. I unravel in that. That's also kind of a superpower, and there's no competition. So what I mean is, you probably will get the best anyway. So like this moon gives prizes naturally, gently, and with no qualm. So meaning you probably won't really even be competed with in a way. Certainty just basically overcomes. It's like, yeah, well, this is the person that lies, and it's easy to hear them lie, and they're so natural, like at lying, for example. And yeah, bang, there's like a best liar award, So like, for example, also in another way, you don't need to necessarily showcase or push. This is interesting. You don't have to get into the best seat. You don't have to control things. You don't have to pass your idea on to other people to be an obviously the one or the best at something. So for example, I don't have to, like, for example, distribute my music around the world. I can just be that. I already know who I am there. Or for example, I don't have to cook for the village. I understand now that I'm a great cook or a great host. So there is like a very, very big relationship or idea that is built by walking through Pluto, though. So Pluto kind of like starts to sort of change us and kind of like pulls us into like a completely different spectrum of life. In some cases, it's going to hold us accountable to some things. Accidents happen during this time. People are likely to have like also strange happenings. People are not going to be also with it before the moon. So this is kind of like a drunken energy. So before this moon, as we build up in the last few days of July, it's going to be like unavailable. So for example, understanding how to work it out, you can't do it. It's like remembering what that person said, you can't remember. Doing things consciously and strongly, being very, very exact on certain details. Not every single person has the power to do that. So some people are going to kind of be morphed, and by the time that they get to this moon, they're like, well, here I am. So it wasn't controlled. Certain results and certain relationships are not controlled. You can't really get it also any better than that. So this is a very interesting phenomenon that is happening in the sky. So that means that certain relationships, certain aspects, certain things are going to take care of themselves. Nature is going to warp it for you. So this is like working with like watercolor. This is like, it's like this. You can't control the paint on the surface of the paper. It makes its own journey. Certain ceramic techniques also the same. It's like you didn't really do it. Nature did it for you. It's not just about that. It's like walking away from businesses, walking away from literal opportunities and options that people give to each other, walking away from marketing in some people's cases, walking away from stable, neurologically obvious relationships and decisions. And yeah, for certain people is going to be very unobvious and not very kind of nurturing, or not very still or safe as to where they're going to eventually be afterwards. This is kind of a scary thing for me. I think that some people are going to not be able to help it, but like fall in love with somebody that they shouldn't be with during this time. Some people, it's like you can't help it, There is a certain type of power that Pluto trined with Uranus has, and also Jupiter is quite close to Uranus, so it's mega Uranus with Sedna, my God, almost like the scariest aspect of astrology, Sedna. the trapped woman, or like the badly treated energy is very badly placed, in some people's lives. So for example, if you're quite used to being treated badly, if you are looking at ways to also destroy yourself and there is no ego attached to it, it's like, I just want to drink myself stupid, or I just want to make a fool of myself, or like there is something inside me that is guiding me towards a certain demise or a certain endings. And yeah, like I'll be honest, also suicides can happen during this time, of really, really bad experiences that people didn't actually wish for, and actually noticed there's been a couple of deaths, or 2 or 3 deaths in the community close by, and I've noticed that the feeling of that death was kind of serendipitous and like a what if, like for example, I don't want to go into it too much, somebody fell off the roof here, fixing the roof, and he was speaking about some spooky things before he tripped, So that's kind of happening. Also, like, I suppose a North Node, sorry to get a bit dark there, retrograde North Node is next to retrograde Chiron. So, yeah, and Aries, they're not conjunct yet, but they're going to be, Eris also is there, which is confidence. So there's need to be very, very careful, you guys, and I suppose like feel safe on who you are and what you're doing, because sometimes in Leo nobody can really bother so much about other people and what they're going through, what is their natural turn of events, but some of the time it is going to be a strange alchemy as to what brings things to fruition, and also where we're going to end up, with the story. So very, very careful. Now, it's probably not be it's not going to be easy to control. Sorry. There is going to be certain streaks of character that is going to come through, and also hereditary behaviors, like for example, hereditary abuse, hereditary lying, speaking to people in a certain way, making friends without need, doing things that you don't need to do. So all of this really unconscious, also slightly glamorized behavior is going to come through a lot. And I did say a lot about fashion and glamour with this, Lilith being in Leo, and I've been talking about it for 3 or 4 months. People trying to show off and make something out of nothing and be somebody, and still have some sparkle, have some sheen to what they're trying to say, what they're trying to do, without actually really establishing themselves correctly, or having attuned social behavior or professional behavior. So this professional misconduct can happen during this time. For example, a person falling in love with a client, or having an affair with somebody. It's very, very kind of goofy and very animal. It's not just animal, it's kind of like awkward as to what can take place during this time, especially if you have been unconsciously programmed, for example, by certain music taste, by certain narratives in movies. If you've had certain people around you say certain things, if your mother, for example, had an idea that you're going to get like the worst case outcome, there's going to be a programmable time for certain people. And in some people's lives, because of how Leo works also, they're going to be subconsciously basically lured into a certain type of experience. It's like you get on the ride and you can't do anything. The ride just goes by itself. So that's like the worst energy that I'm picking up during this time. And let's try and talk about more positive things and the best. So if your Pluto is under control, it's not just about under control. It's like if your Pluto has been developed really beautifully. For example, if you've merged with the inner animal within yourself, and you started to really, really enjoy the choices and the feelings that your community and the parts of the world where you live in provides. And if you have learned a fluent language, if you've learned your body really fluently, if you've enjoyed, for example, dance, or if you've enjoyed yoga, or if you've done a lot of work on yourself basically and your heart, this could be a very, very bulletproof time. It's like, for example, I have started making this incredible stuff, whatever it is. Like, for example, I've started making music, or I've started speaking in poetry, and each time I speak, it gets even better and better, and my audience is growing and growing. Or, for example, I am making these incredible items from scratch, and the more I make, the more I know how to make them, and a certain type of expert can be born within a person that you didn't really expect you were. So try to enjoy the feelings. It's really important to try and enjoy these systems that you didn't even know how, but you accidentally started to perfect. So we have to also understand that there are certain type of ways that things are perfect and they're landing anytime. Okay, for the lack of a better example, gambling. It's like you just know how to use the roulette, and every single time you go to a place where people gamble, although it's not like the happiest thing to think about during this time, you just land it. It's like I landed. A perfect example is athletes. I really highly doubt that most of my audience would be athletes or athletic, because that's not usually the person this type of channel brings. But if you have ever had like a brother or sister or a spouse or anybody in your life that has really learned themselves and knows their body incredibly, you will know that feeling. It's like they can just throw you over their shoulder. It's like there is like a funness to almost anything. It's like, this is fun, because the body has learned to produce certain hormones and certain chemicals, and there is an ease and a certain type of automated feeling to probably almost anybody during this time, that has made a really, really incredible progress with their body at least once. Also, people that have retired from a sport that don't really participate anymore, they could probably show you something still, even if their body is no longer producing those hormones, So yeah, I'm one of those people as well. If you have something that you've been really, really good at and you've really evolved, and you might pick it up again. So for example, you've played guitar for many years and then you stopped, you might pick it up again. So certain people that are naturally good at a sport or an action or a craft or just something they do with their hands or their mind, might start to really evolve it. Now the best territory is things that are fun, and I do understand people that have been practicing certain sport or hobbies. Sometimes they lose their relationship that they have with the materials in the first place, and they start to make it a job. I got to do this every day, So that's not basically what I'm saying. I'm feeling like there's almost like a communicative issue in the people that try to make it a job when it shouldn't be a job, and they forget how to enjoy themselves. So we need to have the jolliness still plugged into us, and to benefit from this time directly and greatly is just about understanding where the fun is and what is funny. So yeah, it's about funny, it's about comedy, it's about relationships that are awesome, it's about smiles on the faces, it's about an actual human need for joy. And I do understand that there are certain things that can give joy, but they don't necessarily actually give that joy. So for example, orgasm gives a joy, and where it's from and who it's with never mattered. For example, drinking a whole bottle of wine by oneself is joy. But whether or not that's good for your system is a question mark. For example, being with a certain friend is joy, but who you are with that person may not necessarily be correct and such. So there are certain unjoys, anti-joys, that people employ or enjoy during this time, during this time, that don't necessarily want you to experience the best, or to become a more kind of natural person in a situation. So as Moon goes through Capricorn before she hits Aquarius, it is kind of about naturalness and a certain type of language of freedom, and it's also about growth and patterns. Yeah, and for certain people it's about respect and everything like that. But inside Capricorn there is a nature, there is naturalness, and there is an obviousness, and there is a calmness. It's not just about this, it's about a certain type of centeredness and the animalistic and the holy aspects at the same time. And then inevitably we walk into Aquarius and we start to breathe those colors. So they come out as music, they come out as colors, they come out as image. So these sensitivities and sensibilities that we would have built. So yes, Scorpio gives maturity. Sagittarius is kind of like the temperance card. It's like the, between spirit and animal. Then as the pure animal, like the purest form of basically humanity, in this link between Sagittarius and Capricorn. And there's real know-how as to how to really live on this planet. And then inevitably we walk into Aquarius, and Aquarius makes it just a glamorized image. And I did tell you a few things at the start of the video about photographs and footage and videos. It's about a 2D cutout of that which has taken thousands of years to form. So this is like a little slide or little memo, or just like a simple 3-word remark that is there instead of a whole system. So, for example, instead of knowing this person, instead of understanding them, or instead of really being with them, you only get like a certain slide. So it's like reducing a life into slides. So this is like reducing your memories into photographs. And that's it basically. So in a way, you get pictured, remembered, or memorized, as moon as memory. Also during this moon as something or somebody that has been a certain type of power presence, maybe also in somebody else's life. So for example, here there could be a very, very obvious ongoing also education that some people have to have. And I'm telling you this in the lightest of heart and most caring of heart. We have to really care for ourselves more than different types of memories and slides that we have created of ourselves. Sometimes people go through their photo album and look at the younger years. It's like, oh my God, what did I participate in as a child, or as a young adult? I can't believe I've done that to myself, or I can't believe I used to do this to other people or with other people. So not every person is completely happy or grateful in terms of what they've eventually become or come out to be. So what I'm basically trying to say here, trying to share, is that we've got to really, really be careful, compassionate, and kind during this very, very automatic and glamorized time for some people, in order to not accidentally corrupt or idealize things. We can't really make it also in certain areas of our lives. Some people are really, really distraught still from cancer time because their dreams or ambitions haven't come true. We have to be gentle with ourselves because not every single person is capable of the things that they have been grown to believe they're going to be capable of. And also this actually has a lot to do with people that have been raised, groomed, or idealized in a certain way when they were younger. So for example, if you've been like very glamorized for something, or you've been asked to be somebody when you were young. For example, you've done modeling and acting as a young person, and then now being in your 40s or 50s is very hard because you're still kind of playing that part, but you can't play that part. Or for example, people that have been given a lot of hope by their parents and their peers to succeed in a certain type of sport or a certain type of lifetime choice, they haven't been available to do it, or they couldn't do it. So basically what I'm saying is that quite a few of us, I feel, will start locking up and feeling very depressed if we haven't been able to fulfill certain expectations, especially if they've been societal expectations and things that have become kind of rock hard. It's like you have to get married, or like you have to make a child, or you have to go for university, you have to. So certain people have to also relax and release these worlds. Now this is a very interesting game changer. I don't want also you guys to take this on too literally, but I'll just say it's almost like you just say, okay, and you pass from that world. It's like you've died in that world. So for example, the world of modeling. Yeah, sure. I've done that. I used to do that. That's how I got groomed as a child. So I've done the world of modeling, and I released it, and eventually it kind of came out of me, and I'm no longer in that world. I'm not longer in that dimension. So for example, it could be a world of like skating. You've been groomed to be a skater since you were a child, and you still feel like you haven't done it. You still feel that there's something about you that hasn't won, or hasn't being able to produce something or do something. And as I said, a lot of cancer was kind of about that, like unmet expectations. And a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of crying and feeling sad also, as we walk up to this moon, as they haven't been able to mature, they haven't been able to produce something, like they haven't delivered it. So what I suppose I can say here is, not many people really needed to. So it's just about like dying out of a certain situation. So I'm just going to kind of explain as to what it means. It just means you become very passive, and I talk a lot about passivity at the start of the previous video for August. You become passive and you remember something else, and you in a way inevitably leave that story or situation. So what I've seen in my life happen a lot is that we have been trained to fight for a certain place under the sun. So like all that argumentativeness and all this ego and energy, it's like, no, you can't leave the story before you win. You have to win first. It's like, the last word, it's like, I will have the last word, or I'll do the best I can. So like the thing is just to go, it's like you basically leave a story. It's like you've died in a story. So this could be seen very well in conversations. This is a perfect example. So for example, you're talking to somebody who's incredibly poignant and argumentative, and they're telling you all these things and they're doing all this. And it's very easy to get inside this battle and kind of do this crazy little dance with them as you like, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. So basically fighting this person in a sense with your responses, or you're trying to understand them. So like the thing basically here is to just move. It's like, la la, ooh. Like I've died, like the conversation has died. Now this is really, really important part of this year. It's just like you don't make any responses, you don't play with these crude energies, you don't play with these people, you don't play with these themes. You just leave. So that person might never call you back again because your energy just gone, oh yeah, okay. It's like you've died. You're no longer a fighter. You're not providing them any energy. You're not showing them your colors, and you're not asking them to show you more of their colors. So you just let the conversation die. And in a way, it's about ghosting people, or just about being like no longer available. It's like you don't pick up your phone, you don't check your messages, you don't care. It's like you've ghosted them, you finished it, So like I suppose the worst case scenarios, sure, let's go there. People sometimes don't care about that because they're like, no, I gotta support my idea. No, I gotta like let them hear it. I gotta let them have it. It's like sometimes kids are groomed by their parents, and their parents to be like, come on, let them have it. Show them who you are. It's like you don't need to show them who you are. You basically dispatch. So the only way basically that I see it in certain cases is non-participation and using that passive energy to forget. Yeah, forget. La 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 la, forget. This person wants you to do this and this, just forget it. You don't have to fight. You don't have to go to court about it. You don't have to do anything. You just forget it, And that means that it's a certain type of die out, So it's kind of like you don't want it, you don't care, you like forget it, and then it's like you also forget 40 different things at the same time. So when you don't use that aspect of your reality, be it a person that's argumentative, or be it a toxic environment or an addiction or anything, you just forget it. And within that forgetfulness, you forget 40 different aspects of your life. So that means that you don't need to, like heave uphill. You can change your life basically leading up to this moon is what I'm saying to you. You stop turning heads, you stop making this, you stop making that, you stop making it anything, you just forget it. And then those people that can no longer participate in certain things, aspects of reality, these people, they don't have to be seen as boring people, So it's not like, oh, you lost your spark. Why aren't you fighting? Where's your fighting spirit? It's not like that. You just make time for something else. So it's not about ending the game and having no games to play. It's not about being boring. It's not about losing your spark. It's not about not being seen. Sometimes people think, wow, if I quit this or quit that, I'm not going to be seen. So for example, when I quit Facebook cold turkey, I just noticed that feeling. It's like, well, wow, that's like my whole social life completely dead then, It's like some 5,000 subscribers completely gone, But that's not an important thing. So you basically allow it, you relax, you release all of that, those webs, and forget. And it won't matter eventually. But you like have more time to do something else. Like the amount of time I used to just sit scrolling through Facebook, it was really unsightly. It was really unsavory, really. And then last year, I just basically closed it down. It didn't do anything bad. It's just like at the time, also like certain types of fights or addictive behaviors or relationships or anything toxic makes you think that you won't be anything without it. It's like, of course, well, if I don't drink, I will not have any friends. Or for example, well, if I don't participate in this, I will not have anything else to do, or I'll forget myself. And sometimes people think like, for example, if I stop doing this, I will be in a way I will not be able to manage, you know. But you will manage, and not just manage, you will just recognize yourself on another level, and out comes a new game, out comes a new relationship. And I hope that it doesn't have to be another toxic relationship or outcome. It can be just peace, peacefulness, because it's what everything is eventually leading itself to. It's just like a state of peace and relaxation. So it's like, instead of sitting there on the phone looking at things, with my eyes like this, I can just enjoy my freaking time. I can enjoy my moment, a moment that will never return. So like the passing of time. And I did talk a lot in the previous videos about regrets, and especially older people saying like, what the hell did I invest my time in? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? What for did I play this game? Why did I make myself this that I thought society wanted me to be? Or why did I marry this person? There's quite a lot of it happening. So the wonder, I suppose, of older years and this natural spirituality, which actually a lot of people have silently and secretly, is just you just learn to relax and enjoy your freaking time. Because we don't probably feel it now if we're of a certain age. A lot of us, when we get older and we have limits, for example, there's pain in the body, or there is a psychological, emotional limit, which inevitably comes for a lot of people in time. And then you basically start to recognize the beauty and the wonder that you've actually lived through, and your appreciation for life changes. So learning from the older generation with respect, recognizing where they have found their heart, where they found their fun and their flavor, because inevitably, basically, they wouldn't sometimes have access to that time again. So sometimes people say, oh, wow, when I first had my daughter, or when I first had my son, or when I first got married, all of those beautiful times that an older person might remember, those positive times. We younger generations, I'm not that young anymore, but like a lot of the younger people have to basically start to learn from and teach themselves also to take some kind of wisdom from. Because all of this like stuff, like being all over the internet, doing this, doing that, posting this, posting that, and inevitably, like, wow, it's like a wonderful topic to discuss. Where you be is different, and who you are could change drastically. And a lot of people are just brought up by the internet these days, from age one, from the start. And yeah, looking around, commenting, posting, and eventually your life is over. So we have to basically recognize it's true. How to grow past these different eternities that we're building with nobody. Sometimes a person feels more spark love and connection to an internet, social media account than anything or anybody in their life. Yeah, and that's been going on since like the 1960s, 1950s even. Like people feel more joy sitting in front of the screen of the computer, or any screen, TV, anything like that, than anything in their life. They can't imagine anything else. That's not true. No, I love my wife, I love my dog. It's like, yeah, but like the amount of glee and wisdom and sensitivity and love you get from a screen is much more than from a simple discussion sitting in the same room with somebody who's actually natural for you to have around. So that's really scary for me. So we should probably solve these puzzles at some point. But now I've got to go have a look at my channel. I also have some videos that I've shared from my other channels. Have a look, and maybe there's something you like and subscribe. I have a Patreon if you'd like to have some useful information. and such for all signs and for the days ahead. Blah blah blah. Let's cut it short. I hope that you have a wonderful August, and I will see you next time. Thanks, bye.